All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Rohit, and I am going to watch the Cricket Explained, if you already know, baseball video. I've watched this video before and I really liked it because it explains it to American fans, baseball fans. And I know a lot of American people are kind of getting into cricket now. But I also see that there's a lot of questions that are popping up in the videos that where American fans are watching the Cricket Explained video. So I thought it might be a cool idea as a cricket fan myself to explain the Cricket Explained video. So here it goes.
And if you already know baseball.
All right, to get this started, I want you to imagine a game much like baseball, except there are only two bases, and they're basically where home plate is and where the pitcher's mound is. To score a run in this game, you simply have to reach the next base. So if you put the ball in play and you make it to the pitcher's mound, that's a run. And then if you're able to make it back to home plate, then you score 2 runs on that play.
Right, so I hope that's pretty straightforward, but I think that's a good way to start. So you start with the baseball idea of having like a whole four bases, but instead of four bases, just remove them and think of running from home base to the pitcher's mound. And those are the only two spots that matter. So that whole strip that you see on the screen right there, that's called a pitch. The whole thing is called a pitch.
This game is played in the middle of an oval, so there's no foul area. You can hit the ball behind you, you can hit it to the side or whatever. And in this game, the pitchers are allowed to bounce the ball. If you can picture this game in your mind, you are 75% of the way to understanding cricket.
Right, and those are again important distinctions. The ball is harder than a baseball, and it's a little bit smaller. It has a seam in the middle, if you notice that. And the bowlers or pitchers, in cricket you call them bowlers, they have to do a arm action where they have to complete the arm action one at least one full rotation and then bounce the ball. They can still pitch the ball directly. That's called a full toss, but ideally they have to bounce the ball.
The rest of it is details. Before we get started, I just want to say that I'm going to be explaining this like I would to a friend of mine who knows baseball and wants to know about cricket. I'm probably going to be switching between baseball and cricket terminology a little bit more freely than maybe somebody who's a hardcore cricket fan might be comfortable with.
Yeah.
Feel free to correct me in the comments, but what might be more fun is if you made a companion video that explains baseball in reverse. All right, let's get started.
Basic gameplay.
So cricket is a game played between two teams of 11 players. When a team is fielding, all 11 of its players are on the field at the same time. 9 players are out in the field at the various positions. And then there's one bowler, who is basically the pitcher, and one wicketkeeper, who is basically the catcher. And then
So another way to think about this, like why are there 11 players, is that originally when it started, there were 5 batters, 5 bowlers, and 1 wicket keeper. With the modern game, there's more batters needed. So either a lot of pitchers have to learn how to bat, and that's what happened. And you call them all rounders, which is pitchers who can bat or batters who can pitch. And you have more of them in the team too, or you just have more batters. So nowadays you would find that at least 7 or 8 people can bat really well, and the bottom 4 or 5 are the ones who pitch or bowl. Every team needs at least 5 unique pitchers or bowlers, at least 5, because whatever is the number of balls being bowled or number of pitches being bowled is divided amongst those 5.
the team that is batting has 2 players at bat at any given time. These batters stand at opposite ends of the pitch, which is a narrow rectangle that's in the middle of the oval that is the cricket field. At the ends of the pitch are 2 wickets, which are these little structures that have 3 stumps.
And this is the part where a lot of people would get confused because cricket uses a lot of terminology interchangeably. So these 3 wooden sticks that you see is called a stump, but collectively called a wicket. So that end is called a wicket. For example, if batters are running between 2 bases, rather than calling them bases, we would call them wickets. So running between the wickets. But one stick is called a stump. Those small sticks on top are called bails. And you would hear that terminology when you're watching a game, that the bails are off, which means that, and they have to get off for it to be considered a dismissal. And these are wickets. However, the term wicket is also used when somebody gets out, and that means that you've got a wicket. So you'd hear those terms a lot, but try not to get too caught up in those.
Stumps and two bales. The stumps are the three pieces of wood that are in the ground, and the bales are these two little pieces of wood that rest on top of the stumps. A play begins when the bowler, which is basically the pitcher, bowls the ball to the batter. The bowler is ultimately trying to break the wicket, which would get the batter out, and more on that later. The batter is trying to protect the wicket.
So again, I would say that part is confusing. So when you say the bowler is trying to hit the wicket, the bowler is not trying to hit the wicket, the bowler is trying to hit the stumps. If he hits the stumps, they get the wicket. So the video uses it kind of interchangeably, which can be confusing.
And put the ball in play. If the ball is put in play and the batter and the teammate are able to switch places, so basically assume the other one's position, the team has scored a run. And if they can do that again, then they score 2, and if they can do that again, they score 3, etc.
Yeah, typically 3 is the maximum they run, because if the ball reaches the boundary rope in the back over there where you see the Gillette signs, if it reaches there, bouncing on its way over there, they had 4 runs. So if you think about it, you have played the ball and it's on the ground. If it reaches the boundary, you're going to get 4 runs. But if it not, the maximum you can do is get 3 runs. However, sometimes the ball is overthrown, the keeper doesn't get it, or the bowler doesn't catch it, and it passes the pitch again, and they keep running. So sometimes people have run 4 runs, 5 runs. I've rarely seen anybody run 6 runs. I've rarely seen anybody run 5 runs. The maximum you get 5 runs is that somebody takes 1 run and then the fielder throws the ball and it crosses and everybody misses it and goes to the boundary, and that's how you get 5 runs. So the maximum you would see people run between the wickets is usually 3. With singles, so 1 run, doubles, 2 runs, those are more common.
There are no strikes in cricket. The batter can just choose not to swing if they don't want to. And there's no penalty for hitting a batter with a legally thrown ball. Batters are expected to protect the wicket and not let themselves get hit. In fact, as we'll see in a little bit, there are actually situations where a batter can be called out if they allow themselves to be hit with the.
Right. And before we get into that, the ways of getting out or getting a wicket, so the batters you would see are protected because they have a lot of pads and guards and cups and different types of protections all over the body. Helmets are a relatively newer addition. In the 70s and 80s, you would see old videos where people were not wearing helmets. And cricket can be deadly. People have actually died. On the pitch, batters have died getting hit with the ball on an unprotected area. The most recent one, and you can look this up, was Philip Hughes, who sadly passed away on pitch. He was an Australian cricketer, really good batter. And he died on spot because he was hit by the cricket ball. So cricket can be deadly. The ball is hard. So all of these protective gears are really important. But like the video said, that's not really a problem if you're getting hit, as long as the ball is legally bowled. Illegally bowled ball would be something that like comes full on without bouncing waist or higher, and it comes really at a high pace directly at the batter. That's considered more of an illegal delivery, or typically called a no ball.
There is the equivalent of a ball in cricket. It's called a wide. And if the umpire has determined that the bowler has bowled the ball wide, 1 run is awarded to the batting team. There's also something in cricket called a no ball, which is when the umpire has determined that the ball has been delivered illegally. And there's a couple dozen different reasons why an umpire might call a no ball. If the umpire calls a no ball, just like a wide, 1 run is awarded to the batting team. In cricket, the batters stay on the field until they are out. So they continue to bat and score runs until they are.
Right, and that's a cool thing, right? So that's a big distinction from baseball, which makes it a lot of fun. So if you look at the scorecard here, this is India batting, and like India's top players, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli are playing. So you see, the score says Rohit 18 and 33. What that means is Rohit Sharma had scored 18 runs, but he has faced 33 pitches. And we keep count of pitches in cricket as well, because that can be used to determine the strike rate and lots of different things. But you can see that how much runs each batter has made here. And that's important because once a batter reaches a certain score like 50, that's a milestone, and it's called a half century. If they reach 100, again, it's called a century, bigger milestone. In one of the formats of the game where you see people wearing whites, people often go, not often, but people can go to bigger scores like 200, 300. Maximum somebody has scored in a white jersey format is 400 runs, individual score, 400 runs by a batter from the West Indies called Brian Lara. In the colored uniform, the colored jerseys, you would see the maximum score is actually by this guy, Rohit Sharma, which was 264 runs. And that's crazy big score for an individual, but people have done stuff like that. On an average, a good batter in a match typically makes about 40 to 50 runs. If that's what they make, that's a good contribution.
Are put out. This means that just like in baseball, a batter can be out with one single swing of the bat, or they can stay at bat, I guess forever. But it's common for a batter to score between like 20 and 50 runs in an at bat, and it's not unheard of for a batter to hit 100. This is called a century, and it's very fun.
The boundary.
Along the perimeter of the cricket field is the boundary. This can be a rope or a little cushion type thing, or it could be a short fence or a wall. When a ball is put in play and it reaches or goes past the boundary, that is called a boundary. A ball that rolls and hits or passes the boundary or bounces over the boundary like a ground rule double is worth 4 runs for the batting team. Mm-hmm. A ball that is hit over the boundary, so basically like a home run, is worth 6 runs for the batting team.
Right. So if you think about it, the pitches for one pitcher are organized in a set of 6 pitches. So one pitcher at a time or one bowler at a time can only bowl 6 pitches, and then they have to switch with a different pitcher. So if a batter on the other side hits them for a home run, right, for a 6 run, every single pitch, the maximum you can score in one over, that's called an over, the set of 6 pitches is called an over, the maximum you can score is 36 runs. 6 times 6. 36 runs can be scored maximum, which is again very rare. It has maybe in the history of cricket has happened like 3 or 4 times in international cricket at least, and that's the maximum you can score. About 6 runs per over is on par. If you get a run on each ball, are on par. Nowadays, people tend to score about like 10, 12 runs and over, and that's good, that's competitive. But that's the type of scoring that you would see, which is why in this example, for instance, you see how it's South Africa playing. So SA 260, so they have scored 260 runs as a team, and they've only lost 1 player. So that's -1. Overs being bowled is 39.3, and because people were playing wearing colored jerseys, that means this is a 50 over limit game. So each side would get to play 50 overs. And you can say the run rate is 6.58, which means that they are scoring about 6.58 runs per over. So between 6 and 7 runs an over is what they're making. And you can see about its 40th over is about to wrap up, and they made 260 runs. right? If they keep going at this rate, they might end up making about 350 runs in 50 overs, and that's a pretty competitive score for this format of the game.
Bouts.
There are several ways that a batter or runner can get put out in cricket, and they boil down to two basic categories. A batter can be caught out, which is just like baseball. They hit a ball in the air and a fielder catches it. Or they can be out if the fielding team knocks the bails off the stumps of the wicket when you are in a position where that could put you out. There's a few different ways this could happen. You could be run out. This is where you are trying to score a run, but they knock the ball into the wicket before you reach the crease that defines the place where you are safe. By the way, the bat is part of your body.
Right, the bat is part of the body. So you see that the batter is diving here and making sure that the bat reaches and crosses the white line. It has to cross the white line and be in the crease. So that's what he's trying to get at. Even on the line is out. So bat has to be a little bit of bat. Some part of the batter's body, including the bat, has to be within the crease. So he has to cross that line. And clearly in this case, he is about 10 inches out. And it's a direct throw there. And these are impressive. These are always fun to watch.
When determining whether or not you are safe. You can be bowled out. And these are very exciting.
Very exciting.
This is where the bowler sends the ball to you and the ball bounces past you and knocks the bails
and also quite humiliating as a batter to get bowled out
off the stumps. A batter can also be put out by the wicketkeeper if the batter moves past this line here called the popping crease, and the wicketkeeper gains possession of the ball and knocks the bails off the stumps. This is called being stumped out. A batter can also be called out if they allow the ball to hit them and the umpire determines that the ball would have knocked the bails off the stumps if the batter had not interfered with their body.
Right. This is called leg before wicket. These used to be really controversial because before times it would just depend on the umpire to make the call. But this is where the Hawkeye technology comes from, because one of the cricket fans was so tired of the umpires making wrong calls that he made the technology where could you track the ball and then see if it's hitting the wickets or not, hitting the stumps or not. And that's where it comes from. And eventually it's used in baseball too now.
This is called a leg before wicket. So those are the most common ways that you will see a batter or runner get put out by the fielding team. There are several other much less common ways for a batter to get out, and we will not be getting into them here. One major
Right, there are some fun ones too. For example, if a batter falls on the wickets, on the stumps, that's called a hit wicket, or they hit the stumps with their own bat, that's a hit wicket. And there are some other ways of getting out, like if a fielder is throwing the ball and it's going towards the stumps and the batter blocks the ball, and the umpire deems it to be either intentional or like trying not to avoid it, that's also a way of getting out. It's called obstructing the field. So there's many ways of getting out in cricket, but the common one were explained in the video.
Difference between baseball and cricket is in cricket, if the fielding team thinks that they have gotten a batter or runner out, they first have to appeal to the umpire, who will confirm whether or not the batter or runner is out.
And typically what they shout is, "How is that?" And it kind of get mushed into "How's that?" And then a lot of people just yell, "How's that?" And so you hear a lot of people are just screaming. What they're trying to say is, "How is that?"
So if a batter or runner would be out, but no one on the fielding team notices it, then play just continues, and the umpire will not just like call them out. When a player is put out, the bowling and fielding team is said to have taken the wicket, and the batting and running team is said to have lost the wicket.
Lost a wicket.
Overs.
Maximum wickets per team are 10. If the fielding team gets 10 wickets, their innings is over. It doesn't matter what type of format they're playing, how many pitches are still remaining. If you get 10 batters out, it's end of innings. And you don't repeat innings. They're done. And each when you see people wearing colored jerseys, that means that there's only one inning per team. When you see them wearing white jerseys, that means two innings per team. But 10 wicket limit is consistent across all formats. The only difference between, amongst many others, but the main difference between the colored jerseys and the white jerseys, the white jersey is an unlimited overs game, but limited by the number of days you can play, which is 5. And the colored jerseys game is usually the one that wraps up in either 20 overs or 50 overs, and that's what he's going to explain next.
Each series of 6 pitches or deliveries, which are called balls, is called an over. Each over has only one bowler, and each bowler only bowls one over at a time. So after a bowler has delivered 6 balls, they take a position in the field, and another player comes in to be the bowler for the next over. A bowler can field for an over and then come back to bowl again, but a bowler may not bowl 2 consecutive overs. If you're comparing this all to baseball, overs are similar to individual at-bats in terms of the flow of the game, right? It's like one series of deliveries that everyone's watching, and then there's a brief pause while a new player comes on, and then there's a next set of deliveries.
And when they pause, the side technically switches. The batters remain where they are, but the new bowler comes from the other side of the pitch to bowl. So whoever was remaining at the non-striking end is the one who will face the new bowler. And that's an important detail, because that's also something that comes into play and consideration a lot of times for the fielding side, is who they want to bring to ball the next over and who's the stronger batter. And sometimes that's a big factor, especially when the pitchers come out to bat, and in cricket all 11 players have to bat. If you keep losing your wickets, and it doesn't matter how good of a batter you are at the end of the team, but you have to come out to bat. And it gets really fun at that time, because sometimes you need like a handful of runs, but the batters who are batting are not good batters, and it gets really, really crucial sometimes.
Is that everyone's watching. The difference, of course, is that it's the bowlers, the pitchers that are coming in and out, and not the batters.
Formats.
Beyond.
Before we go into formats, I see a lot of questions that pop up also are on the types of bowling actions that you would see. Like, for example, this bowler who's coming in is taking a very short run up before he bowls. He's just coming right from where the umpire is standing, and is going to bowl a slower pace delivery. These types of bowlers are called spinners. What they're doing is they're trying to make the ball bounce and then turn a certain way, and it depends on how you throw the ball. Some are called finger spinners, who use the fingers to spin the ball, and some are called wrist spinners, who use their wrist to spin the ball. And depending on how they throw it, it can either bounce and go right, or bounce and go left, bounce and speed up. And some bowlers are so good that the way they do their action, it looks like it's gonna bounce and go right, but it goes left. And that's why the spinners are harder to play. However, it also depends on what type of pitch and soil of the pitch that you're batting on. Some are friendlier for spinners and some are not. So which is why you would see a lot of distinction between who's coming out to bowl and when. And there's a lot of factors there which are really fun to watch as a cricket fan, because there's so much drama around it. But I see this question coming up, like, why is it so hard to hit somebody who's bowling at like 40 miles, 50 miles an hour? But that's why, because they're spinning the ball and it's sometimes harder to pick up.
On to everything that has been explained so far, the majority of the details of the game that you watch will depend on the format of cricket that you're watching. There are 2 basic formats of the game of cricket. There's first-class cricket and there's limited overs cricket. First-class cricket is what a lot of people think of when they think of cricket. We're talking about the games that go on for several days. Everyone is wearing white. Maybe the Queen shows up.
Yeah, maybe the Queen shows up. But so the first class cricket or the unlimited overs cricket, these are the ones that typically internationally go for 5 days. And it may seem like 5 days, that's a lot. It is a lot, but this is the peak of cricket. This is the best format if you are a core hardcore cricket fan. If you are the type of person who likes to watch sports that there are big long tournaments, right? If you're watching golf over multiple days, catching tournaments, you would enjoy watching 5-day test matches or first class cricket, because test matches, which is the international format for first class, which is played between nations, is the most competitive of format of cricket, and it's highly sought after. A lot of people try to get into the test sides, and it's really fun to watch. There's a lot of drama and international rivalry and history, and a lot of stuff happens with that. Out of the 5 days, each day is divided into 3 sessions: the morning, afternoon, and evening session. And you may have heard terms like lunch and tea being offered, and that's what happens is, so you heard about the overs, and the sessions are kind of determined by overs, but more importantly, they're limited by time. So let's say a first session is typically 30 overs, but it lasts about 2 hours. So for 2 hours, the team has to come and bowl and bat, whatever, and then they take lunch, and then another 2 hours, about 30 overs of bowling and batting, and then tea, and then another 30 overs. So the aim is to bowl at least 90 overs during one day of a first class cricket. That's the goal. It doesn't usually go to 90 overs because a lot of people are getting out and in and out, so you lose time. What's most important is that the umpires keep track of that time. It's really important. If a player takes too long in coming out, that can also be determined a form of dismissal, as calling timed out. Very rare, but happens every now and then. But time is very important. So even though it seems like it's a 5-day thing and it's going on and on, but the umpires are always on it, and there's always action and activity. Even when you see there's not of runs being scored, that means that a lot is going on during the time, because definitely the bowlers are on it, right? They're definitely bowling good pitches because the batters are finding it hard to score runs. So for the test format, the first class cricket format is one of the best ways to enjoy cricket.
And first class cricket is most associated with the 5-day long test matches that international teams play against one another. They're scheduled for 5 days, but they might be completed before that. At the beginning of the first day, there is a coin toss to determine which team goes first, and then the sides alternate going through their entire batting order. This happens twice, so each team goes through its batting order twice for a total of 4 innings, unless the team that goes second scores more runs than the team that went first, in which case they don't have to actually finish their entire innings. They just win the game. That was very simplified. The rules governing test matches could be their own 15-minute video.
Right. And if I can tell a little bit about the test matches. So like I said before, in test matches, and only in test matches, which is a form of first class cricket, each team gets to bat twice, so 2 innings per team. So in this match, I think this is like this short clips of like India versus England, and then India, Australia, Australia, England. India, Australia, and England are the big 3 teams in Test cricket. They're very competitive against each other and have a long history. But there are teams like South Africa, New Zealand, who are also pretty good. West Indies, Pakistan also play Test cricket. So does Bangladesh, and maybe Afghanistan, and a couple of other teams. But there's not a lot of teams who play Test cricket. So countries have to be really good at cricket, and they have to earn the right to play Test cricket. So not everybody gets to play Test cricket, first of all. In the 2 innings of format, it's quite common that one teams make a higher score, and then this team that comes out to bat makes fewer runs, and that's called a lead. Now this team has a lead over the other. So now when they come out to bat the second time, they try to expand that lead and then give a target to the team batting last. You can see how there's many combinations that can happen, right, depending on how many runs one scores. For example, if the team batting first scores 500 runs and the team batting second scores only 100, team batting first can now ask the team batting second to go again, and that's quite humiliating. It's called a follow on, and if they cannot add up to go over the score made by the other team, that's a defeat by an innings, and that's the most humiliating way to lose a test cricket match.
The other format of cricket is limited overs cricket, where each team is limited to a certain number of overs, and each innings comes to an end when the specified number of overs has been reached or when all of the batters are out, whichever comes first. There are several types of limited overs cricket, but there are two that you are most likely to see. The first of these are the one-day internationals, or ODI. These are played between national teams, and each team has 50 overs. And then there's also...
So I think there was an error there. It said like 600 deliveries. So a 50 over game, and one day international, ODI, whatever you want to call it. So 50 over game is 50 overs per side. Like I said before, each over has 6 balls, 6 deliveries. So a 50 over inning will have 300 deliveries. So each side maximum faces 300 legal deliveries. And then they switch, and the side batting second now has to make 1 run more than the side batting first, right? At least 1 run more than the side batting first. And that the second batting second is called chasing, obviously. And they also get 300 deliveries or 50 overs to do that.
T20 cricket, which is 2020 cricket, where both teams get...
Right, so this is correct. So 120 deliveries per inning. So 20 overs, 20 times 6 is 120 deliveries. So 120 deliveries per innings per team. And 50 overs is 300 deliveries per innings per team. And 2020 is the shortest of the format. It takes about 3.5 hours to wrap up. This is the most fastest paced one. And if you can get into T20, you would find the energy difference from baseball. The pace is fast. It's going a lot of home runs, a lot of boundaries. In 20 overs, a lot of teams have nowadays, they go past 200 score marks, which you can do the math. 200 runs in 20 overs is 10 runs and over, right? Which means at least every over is at least getting like 1 boundary or 1 home run, which is quite exciting. But the maximum that I have seen, I think England once scored above 300 runs in a 20 over game, which is crazy because that means like about 15 runs per over. And that means a lot of slot. They must have hit all the bowlers all over the park.
Only 20 overs. This style of cricket was invented to be more exciting and more fast-paced, and to put the length of an individual match around the same as other common sporting events around the world. An easy way to know whether you're watching a test match or a limited overs match is whether the teams are wearing white or colors. And if you are watching a professional match, you're almost definitely watching a T20 match.
Mm-hmm. So there's something, so he said if you're watching a professional match, you're watching a T20 match. So I think when he says the word professional, he means like a league cricket, because cricket is typically played as an international sport, and that's the main offering. The league games or pro games are more relatively newer introduction, but all the international games are also professional games, right? All the test cricket is professional cricket. That's international representation for your team always. So yeah, all of them are professional games. But the league ones, and the most famous of the leagues is the Indian Premier League. The league cricket is the one that is only T20 format. You would not see that league cricket being played in any other format.
Keeping.
All right, pay attention, because this is maybe the most confusing part of all of this, the scorekeeping. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see it says India, and it says 118 for 5. This does not mean that the score is 118 runs to 5 runs. No, this means that India has scored 118 runs for 5 wickets, which means that 5 of their batters have been put out. Then it says first innings. So this is the first innings of this match.
No.
Then it says
This
ending
is the-
video
sorry.
that
This means that it was the first innings for India to bat. Because
pay atten-
you would see here that England 287, which means England has already batted and they made 287. And now India is batting for the first time and they have made 118 runs and lost 5 of their batters. And then Kohli is batting at 29 and Hardik Pandya is batting at 10. You also see Broad, which means the bowler, Stuart Broad, has not taken any wickets, 0 wickets, and given 24 runs. And the time is, again, like I said before, the test cricket is really important to keep track of time. So it says what time it is.
attention, because this is maybe the most confusing part of all of this. That the score is 118 runs to 5 runs. No, this means that India has scored 118 runs for 5 wickets, which means that 5 of their batters have been put out. Then it says first innings. So this is the first innings of this match.
So it's the first inning of the match for India. England has already batted and they made 287 runs, which it says right there.
Then it says England 287. So that's how many runs England scored in their innings. And since this is a test match, both teams will play 2 innings. Then you've got information about the 2 batsmen that are currently up and how many runs they've scored so far. Then at the end, it says Broad 0 for 24. This means that Broad, the bowler, has taken 0 wickets so far and has allowed 24 runs. And then the 15 o'clock over there, that's just the time of the day. It's 3 p.m. Now, for a limited overs match, there's a little bit more information that you need to know. So here you go. Down at the bottom, it says England. This is another game between England and India. It's a women's game. So it says England 103 for 4. So that means that they've scored 103 runs for 4 wickets. P2, don't worry about what that means yet.
Right. So P2 means power play number 2. And what that means is how many fielders are allowed in the infield versus the outfield. That's it.
Then it says 24.3 of 50. That means that we are 24 overs and 3 deliveries into this innings. And then the 50 means that this innings will have at most 50 overs, right? Because this is a one-day international. Then it says target 222. This means that India went first and scored 222 runs.
No. It means that India went first and made 221 runs. That's why the target is 222.
So that's how many runs England has to score to win. And from
Right. So again, making very clear, the team batting second has to make at least 1 run more. They don't have to make the same amount of run. They have to make 1 run more.
there, it's pretty much the same as the test match we just saw. Just be careful, because if you're watching an Australian broadcast, the scores are reversed.
Yep.
The wickets are first and the runs are second.
Yep.
So on this one, it says Ren, that's the Renegades, that's one of the teams, 5 for 135. So it's 5 wickets for 135 runs.
Yeah, so this is one of the what he's calling the pro team. This is the league game from Australia. They call the Big Bash League, and that's it. That's one of their games.
So just be careful; it might be confusing.
Some final similarities and differences.
All right, that's basically it. I thought that we would end this video with a few more similarities and differences between baseball and cricket. One major difference is that in cricket, if a ball is in play, the runners are not compelled to move, right?
And it seems like that might be a dull thing, but if you think about it, if there's a lot of those consecutive deliveries where the batter chooses not to run or can't run, that adds a lot of pressure on the batting side, because the run rate starts to drop and the scores get less and less competitive. So, and then there's more pressure to hit a home run, and that's when, or a sixer, and that's when the batters end up making a mistake. So the dot balls, they call them dot balls when you don't make a run. and those can add a lot of pressure.
Only run if you think you can make a run. One similarity is that every cricket ground has different dimensions and a different shape. And much like in baseball, this means that certain cricket grounds are more favorable or less favorable to different play styles.
Right. So they're about like 65 to 80 meters in the how far it is from the pitch to the boundary. And I think the baseball ground's a little bit bigger than that usually.
Another difference is that in cricket, the positions refer to places on the field and not necessarily the individual fielders. So if baseball had a similar thing, like you would not be the shortstop for your team, you would just be a fielder who would be playing shortstop position. And then
Right, and that so some people may be good at a certain position. The wicket keeper is the only one who stays as a constant. They don't change their position. They are the only ones who have the gloves on, which is kind of like the catcher, the back. But nobody else in the field has any gloves on, and they can easily be moved around the field, which is why the positions are marked and not marked. Positions are named, and you just put the fielder on that position. For example, the position right next to the wicket keeper are called slips, and the first slip, second slip, third slip. And there's a lot of these different positions that have names, and you can just send the fielder and ask them to go to that location, at that position in the field. And some people are good at certain positions. For example, when you're close to the boundary, you're likely to get a lot of high catches. And without the gloves, they can be hard to do. And a lot of times people drop them. And so some people are pretty good at taking those catches, and they are the ones who typically stand on the ground at the boundary.
and if your team was in a shift or whatever, maybe you would be said that you were in the second base position. Or maybe for one batter, you would be in the shallow mid outfield
And
position.
you can change for every ball.
Another similarity is that in cricket, players' on-field and off-the-field behavior is governed by an old-fashioned sense of propriety that's not unlike the unwritten rules
spirit
in
of cricket.
baseball. And the final difference that's probably become clear to you as you watch this video is that cricket is a much more international game than baseball. I don't mean to say that it is more popular in more countries than baseball, although this might also be true.
like
What I mean
second
by
most
this is
popular.
that international competitions, so competitions between
So like India versus Pakistan is one of those games that is watched by like a gazillion people, billions of people. It's one of the most viewed sporting events every time.
national teams are the norm. They're not like a special thing that everyone tunes into every 4 years. Professional cricket is a relatively new phenomenon in the world.
League cricket.
And while leagues are becoming much more popular these days, it wasn't very long ago that professional cricket was looked upon as diluting the purity of the game.
Yes.
All right, baseball fan, you have just become a cricket master and you are ready to watch any cricket game that comes across your television.
That man right there, that's the GOAT. Virat
If
Kohli.
you are a cricket fan and you notice that I got something wrong, which I probably have, or that I left something out, which I probably did, feel free to let me know in the comments. Although, like I said before, it might be more fun for you to just make your own companion video. I would
All right, so I think I did a good job. I hope so. This is my first time doing a reaction video. I really wanted to do the Cricket Explained one because I see a lot of American fans and my American friends are interested in it now. The next thing you could do is you could start tracking what Team USA has been up to. Team USA is mainly made of people from some heritage from South Asia or other cricket playing nations. So there's a dire need for more American people to get interested who are kind of born here in the US to get interested in cricket. So the best thing you could do is to start supporting your cricket team, the USA cricket team. There's also a major league cricket tournament that happens around in July, which has about 6 teams right now. New York, Texas, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, and I think there's one more, LA. These are the 6 teams. They're mostly owned by Indian companies and like a couple of outsiders. But that's the T20 version of the game that might be easier to get into. So if you want to support cricket, you could start supporting your local teams or the teams that you are more closer to. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, share with your friends. Bye.